you stopped fiddling?
I haven't stopped fiddling. No. Okay, go for it.
Okay. So, hi. Rob has asked me along today because I think you shared my slides and said that some people were interested in it and it hadn't been recorded as part of Lean Agile Scotland. So I foolishly said I would come in and present to you. So thank you, Rob. So first of all, I'm Lucy Burns. I'm currently working at the Royal Bank of Scotland as an Agile event organiser. Before that, I was involved in some large Agile events, such as, Lean Agile Scotland, do you remember that one? Yeah, so with Mark and Chris. So this presentation was actually written for Lean Agile Scotland. So it's a very basic level introduction to Kanban and talks about neuro-diversity. And you lot as Agile coaches, it'll be a walk in the park. So it's nothing complicated here at all. So my Twitter handle is Pollyannicus, where I mostly talk about cats and knitting and sometimes about Agile stuff. So today I am going to be talking about, well, first of all, I'm going to introduce you to my family because they're going to be a key part of this talk. I'm going to give you some disclaimers. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to talk a bit about neurodiversity. I'm going to illustrate some Kanban stories with conversations with my family. I'm going to use lots of examples of visualization and Kanban, and I'm going to show you a funny picture of my cats. Okay, so first of all, let me introduce my family. This is my Christmas card from last year. So let me introduce everyone to you. So working from left to right, there's my daughter, Orla. She's geeky. She's got her Doctor Who coat on, and she's very geeky. She's 13. Then we've got my cat, Talis, who does appear in this presentation. He's key to this presentation. He's really stupid. Then we've got Ruri. Ruri's 15, he's 16 in 2 weeks. He's got both ADHD and Asperger's and is in the middle of his prelims at the moment. So life at home's fun with him. Then there's me. I had blue hair this time last year. It's faded now. And then in the background, you've got Dante, who, as usual, has gone missing. Sound familiar, Chris? Yeah, cat's gone walkabout. And then there's Morgan, my oldest. He's currently at university. And then next to that is Martin. But go back to Morgan, he's 18 and he's also got Asperger's. And then there's Martin, who some of you may have known, and many of you will know died in May this year. So this is our card from this year. It's slightly changed, a bit poignant. That was just released this week, hot off the press, so I'm going to pick those up on the way back. So I may get emotional. Because of what's happened this year, and because this was pitched before Martin died, this was written in present tense, so I do get confused between my tenses. So I'm sorry, and with that in mind, I've got some disclaimers. I may cry. You may cry. That's fine. That's fine. Now, this was on my original one. I have tissues. I forgot to bring tissues. So I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, there we go. We've got tissues in the room. We're good. We're sorted. Excellent. So this is not pure Kanban. It's just how my family use it and have learned from it. I put this on the original one, so no questions, please, because I may cry, but in such a small group, that's fine. Don't worry. So maybe afterwards, if you've got any questions. And the last disclaimer, yes, they are my drawings, but you should see the ones Rob does. So Rob and I went...
See the ones Rob does.
So Rob and I, for those of you who don't know, went on a visualization course back in May together. And, oh, look. That was the only photo I had of you from the day, drawing a wall.
Good balls.
Yeah.
We had a guide. I know. That was the easy one, wasn't it?
What kind of pen is that you've got?
Oh.
The best pen.
Exactly. So I'm going to start by telling you a story. So as a family, we lived in Sweden for a while. And at that time, my job was to support the children and during the transition and just to be the housewife while Martin worked. So he was working full time, and he came to me and he said that he'd agreed to organise a leadership retreat for up to 50 people in Scotland for 3 days, and we were living in Sweden. And he looked a little bit stressed about it, a bit overworked, a bit embarrassed that he'd agreed to it. And somehow, and I'm not quite sure how, I ended up saying to him, would you like me to help? And he said yes, and that was my first step into event management. So, roll forward a few months. Plans were going well, but I'd hit a wall, which Rob can now draw. So I could no longer focus. I was swimming. Hi, Ian. I was swimming in a sea of to-dos. I didn't know what to do. So I panicked, told Martin I couldn't do this anymore. It was all too much. And Martin did what any husband would do. He drew me a Kanban board. So he drew me this Kanban board. Let me show you. So here we go. Just fade it out. So this is the original Kanban board that he drew me. So there were 2 lots of to-dos. There was the personal list because there were 5 of us travelling over to Scotland from Sweden. So we had to check we got passports, we had to get the flights, book a hotel. We were staying in a B&B, no, self-catering. So we needed a Tesco order, all these little things that we had to organise. And then aside from that, there was the retreat itself. So that was making sure everyone had a room, and all the meals were sorted out, dietary needs, all that sort of thing, and big staples order, make sure we had the Sharpies, everyone has Sharpies, and Post-its, all that sort of thing, had to be arranged in advance from Sweden. So he drew me this. So this is the most important bit of a Kanban board, as most of you know. He gave me a WIP limit of 2, which meant I could have one thing that I was currently working on and one thing pending. So if something was blocked, so if I was waiting for someone to return a call, then I could put it back into the next or move it back into the to-do column. But basically, I could only work on one item at a time, and then each item was pulled across from the to-do or the backlog area into the doing area as I had a space. And it worked. It meant that I could focus. Instead of doing 6 things at once, I only worked on one with maybe one thing in the next area. And the retreat was a success, and I did take one more photo of the board. So that was it done. So, yeah, I think it was a success. Chris was there. So, just a bit of background, what is Kanban? I got this off Wikipedia. Now, at this point at Lean Agile Scotland, I went and did a big Kanban board and did a live Kanban board, but I'm not doing that today. So I'll just read it out for you. I got people to read it at the original event. So Kanban is a scheduling system for lean manufacturing and just-in-time manufacturing. Taicho Ono, an industrial engineer at Toyota, developed Kanban to improve manufacturing efficiency. Kanban is one method to achieve just-in-time. The system takes its name from the cards that track production within a factory. So that's where Kanban started. But what does that mean? So Kanban is a highly visual work management method and is based on 3 basic principles. Visualize the process, limit work in progress, enhance flow. So the key things, is the WIP and visualizing. You want to be able to see what is going on, and it should be fairly intuitive. Somebody coming up to the board should be able to see what's going on really quickly. So the basics of a Kanban board, I'm sure the technicals and the team will pull this apart given the chance. So this is just something I did that we used internally at RBS. So it's just, so you got your backlog, your to-do, you got a WIP limit, and you've got your done. You've got your lead time, cycle time, using Little's law. Lead time equals the number of items in a system divided by the throughput rate, half your WIP, half your time. So I'm going to talk a bit about how we have used Kanban at home. So as I've said, I've got children who have neuro-diversity. My daughter is dyslexic. My sons both have Asperger's, and one of my sons also has ADHD. And looking around at myself and Martin, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I can see I've probably got ADHD, and Martin almost definitely had Asperger's. It's not surprising we've got the children we do.
Fantastic children.
Absolutely unique. So the National Autistic Society states that an autistic person may have difficulties with processing information, predicting the consequences of an action. If I do this, what will happen next? Understanding the concept of time. Is that true, Ian? Executive function, i.e. a person may be so detail-focused, they're less able to see the whole picture. So for people who don't know much about neurodiversity, that doesn't really mean much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of conversations that I've had with my son and my husband. So the first one is one with Ruri. So here we are, great pictures. Do you like them? I might get Rob to redraw them later.
Not doing it.
So let's start with Rory, okay? So remember, he's got ADHD and Asperger's. He spends a lot of time wearing headphones. He doesn't always focus on things around him. So picture the scene. It's his turn to unload the dishwasher. And I could say to him, unload the dishwasher, Rory. But this is what he hears. He hears blah, 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 Rory. Because it's not until he hears his name that he's like, oh, someone's talking to me. Because it's just background noise to him. So that's frustrating. So then he's like, what? So then I've got very short temper. So I'm like, oh, God, I have to repeat again. So instead, what I've learned to do is this. I say, Rory, and I wait until I can see him. I wait until I can see him looking at me. I wait until he has stopped what he's doing. So I won't carry on until I've got his eyes. And when he has stopped and is looking at me, then I can continue. Can you unload the dishwasher? Now, at this point, he may not react as I want him to, but I've got his attention. He knows that I've asked him to do something. He probably won't do it straight away, but he now knows it's his turn to unload the dishwasher, and it's worked, job done, eventually, when he does it. So that's one way of dealing with the ADHD. It's just a different way of communicating. So here's a similar one, but this time it's a conversation with Martin that I would possibly have had. So I go to Martin and I say, could you do X, Y, and Z? Could you take the bin out? Could you, I don't know, feed the cats, whatever it is? Could you pick up Orla from her random class, whatever? And his reaction to me saying that is no. And why has he said no? And it's a bit like Rory. It's because his head is already full. In his head, he's booking flights for a conference. He's resetting the Wi-Fi again. He's pushing through an Amazon order. He's about to go on a conference call. And what I've just done is I've doubled his workload. And he's like, I can't do that. He's already at his limit. And by coming up to him and giving him a list of 3 things, it's not going to work. So we have Kanban boards at home. So maybe what I could have done instead is I've put some things on the board for you. Now, again, this time he's also going to say no. Because what I've done this time is I've interrupted his train of thought. I may not have given him the list of things to do, but I've interrupted what he was doing. And so therefore I have increased his workload. So what I learned to do very quickly was not actually talk to him. Instead, I would just put them on the Kanban board. So next time he comes into the kitchen to make himself a coffee, he looks up at the board and he's like, oh, I've got some more things to do. And he then knows there's more there, but he doesn't have to do them instantly. He just knows that they need doing. And it means we don't have to talk, which is great. But I've given him jobs to do. And he would do the same to me, or we'd have share lanes. And it worked. It just meant that I wasn't overloading him at that point in time, but I was still allocating stuff to him. That's how our household ran. So I've got a whole load of other examples that we've used in the home, not all strictly Kanban. A lot of them are just visual techniques we've used to help in various circumstances. So this one is Lean Agile Scotland 2016. So Lean Agile Scotland was always a complicated week for us. Martin was usually speaking and I was usually working at the conference back in 2016. On top of that, we used to host a huge party for speakers and friends that needed organising. Oh, and we've got 3 children as well, who of course were 3 years younger then. So on this one, we've had to do some stuff in advance. I had to do a Costco run. I had to cook a huge chili. And then we both have different things going on during the week. We couldn't both go to all the social events because we needed somebody to be at home for the children. So we would think in advance who was going to go to which evenings. So we would share that out. And actually the reason for us hosting the after party meant that we could both be at that party and just invite people to the house. It was a huge amount of organisation, but for us it worked really well because the kids were there and everyone came to us, and it meant that we could both drink, and it was fun. And when I say huge chili, I mean huge chili. It was huge. Yeah, I found those photos last night when I was looking through. I thought they were quite good. Yeah, I think I probably had a Kanban board just for the chili. So here's another example. So this one, I think Martin was away, but I was going out to my book group just along the road. So I knew I'd be back later in the evening, but I'd left the kids home alone. So I needed to just give them some gentle reminders. So Orla, 9 o'clock bedtime, lights out 9:30. Ruri, pyjamas and teeth, 9:30. Take your tablet, go to bed by 9:45. Morgan, because he's that much older, I didn't expect him to be in bed by the time I got back, but I needed to give him a reminder of don't be an idiot, because he had a habit of just bothering the others when it was their bedtime, just bother, bother, bother. And what I love about this photo is he's actually ticked that, so he obviously wasn't an idiot. So, job done. Well done, Morgan, you weren't an idiot. But again, it means, like the instance with Martin, I don't have to say to them, do this, do this, do this. I just put it up and I say, it's on the board, have a look, make sure you do it. And they do, because it's there, they can see it. And they can see each other's actually, which always helps, because they can see that it's not just them that have got things to do. If I go to them individually and say, I need you to do this, and I need you to do this, they don't always see what everyone else has got on, but if I do it visually, they can, I try and make it fair, and so they can see that it's fairly equal. So this is another one. So this is when we went to Centre Parks. Those of you that have ever been to Centre Parks, you know that you have to book a lot of the activities in advance. You can't just turn up and expect to be able to get into the slots you want. So my kids have different interests. So in this one, the different colours are the different days. And then we've got initials against who's doing what. So even this needed juggling, because when the kids are young, you have to go with them to book them into the sessions and pick them up. So we had to make sure they didn't overlap. So, and around that, we had to work out where everyone was eating. So Tuesday evening, burgers and chips cooked for the kids, and Martin and I got a takeaway. Wednesday evening, Martin and I managed a meal out, and we just got pizzas for the kids. You know, so it's trying to arrange your social life around all the things you've got to do. It was just a really visual way, and it stopped all the questions of, what am I doing today? It's like, look at the board, it's there, and they can see. And there are some overlaps there, but that was fine. And it's a reminder that one of them needed money to be taken with you, whereas the rest of them have been paid in advance. So it's all those little reminders. This is, let me have a look. So this one is a trip we did to Toronto, and Post-its and Sharpies were in our bags, of course. So this is one that Martin's done. I'll visualise this one. So we've got done, to do and done, and then options, commitment and options. You like that one? Bit of a maths one there, Chris Maths. So things that we're definitely doing today, things that we're probably doing tomorrow, and then a backlog. So, and we can all see, we all sort of pooled on that and said, what do you want to do while we're here? You know, there were some things we absolutely wanted to do and things that we thought about doing. So this is one of my favourites. This is my oldest son. When he came to do his hires, he came to me and he said, I can't revise. I'm like, oh, why? He says, there's just so much to do. I was like, right, let's break it down. So what I did was I broke it down by subject. So apart from English and drama, which are both orange, the others are all different subjects. So geography, physics, biology, computing, English and drama. And then each of the little post-its are topics. So he had to go through all of these in advance of his exams. And what I didn't add here is around the corner there was a big Kanban board. And what I did for that was I said, okay, so today you're doing physics and geography. And then he would just come and choose 2 of the tickets and put them on his board. And he would then move them to done. And he gradually got through them all. I mean, he's now at university, so something's sunk in. It was interesting, actually. So I said, Ruri, my middle one, is in the middle of his prelims. He asked me to do this for him about 2 months ago. He came to me, I can't revise, I don't know what to do. So I did the same for him. So he remembered this and asked me to do it for him as well. So it's just splitting the work down into manageable chunks for him. Because if you just say read a whole book, that's just not going to work. So here's another one, using dot voting. This was for things in the summer holidays. So I gave each child a number of dots and they could vote on what they could do in the holidays. One thing I liked about this is I'd put lots of options there and Ruri didn't like the options, so he added go-karting. So that, I think he put all his dots on that. So you can see go-karting's popular, and Dynamic Earth and Fox Lake were also popular, and I love that, the things that I wanted to do, so the castles, the hiking in the Pentland, not a single vote. Like, okay, clearly that's not going to be what we're going to do this summer. But it was giving them the autonomy, and, you know, as a parent, you can't, I find it very hard to say we're doing this today. You know, they have to make decisions. They're more cooperative if they've had part of that decision making. So this is, as I've mentioned this a couple of times, we had a massive Kanban board on our huge fridge at our old house. And this is what it looked like. We had different rows along there. So we each had one, and then there was a parent one, which could be, I don't know, do the shopping or pick up so-and-so, whatever. Any child, that could be chores. Anyone, just things needed doing. And then, of course, there's the cat row. That's really important. So we always had in the doing column for the cats, be cute. Now, what I liked about this one, is why I've got a photo of it, is this was just after we'd been away on holiday. So we came back from holiday and we'd had a cat sitter. And I'm going to focus in on this bit. In the done column for the cats, our cat sitter has written, be nice to Emma. Now, we didn't explain the Kanban board to her, but she found the Post-its, she found the Sharpies, and she wrote that herself, which meant that that Kanban board has done the job because it's self-explanatory. And I just love that. I think that was so funny. So slightly different one. I said the cat would have a starring role. This is Talis. He's stupid. He snapped his hip, which was quite an achievement. We don't know how. He didn't dislocate, he actually snapped it. So he had to have a major operation. And after that, the vet gave us all these medications, and my head just exploded. You have to take that one how many times? So I drew it up, and then I ticked it as I went through. Because as you can see, in one day, on the Wednesday, he had 6 different medications at different times with food. You know, some of them had to be spaced. So I drew it all up, and then it didn't matter who did it. As long as it was crossed off as it was done, we knew he'd had those medications. It's just a different way of doing it. Now, sometimes the to-do list can be funny. The Kanban boards get funny, so you'll recognise this one. So when we were planning Lean Agile Scotland one year, Chris said to me, we could have a gong. I'm like, what? Let's have a gong to start the beginning and end of the sessions. That was a 3-way conversation we had, I think, for that one. Haragong, Lucy. I'm like, okay, Haragong.
James' fault.
So I hired a gong. And I love this, actually. We hired it from the Glasgow Chamber Orchestra. Or, I hired it. This thing turned up on a big lorry, massive lorry had come across from Glasgow with this gong in it. And he drew on it, so we knew exactly where to hit it, which I love, because you don't hit it in the centre, you hit it just below to get the best reverberation. So then what we did is during the conference, people could give money to charity and smash the bong. So there's Jabe smashing the bong. Bong? Gong! Ah. Dreaming. And for the pedants in the room, it was actually a tam-tam. It wasn't a gong. But. So doing all of this sort of visualization has massive knock-on effects. So you get a bit obsessed with stationery. So can I just say that those pictures on the right, they hurt because they need sorting, massively need sorting. The thing on the left is actually, it's like an artist pen holder thing. I bought it, it's great. I bought it for Martin for Father's Day. I filled it. And then I didn't give it to him because I liked it so much I kept it. So I bought another one. So we've got 2 of those now. I couldn't bear to part with it. By the time I'd filled it, I was like, ooh, that's good. So there's some more, a bit more sorted now. So the things on the left are actually like flower pots. I have those as the centre of my dining table.
Something to aspire to, Rob?
There's a reason we're friends.
So what I like about all this process is eventually the kids start doing it themselves. So we went to see the Star Wars film, which is it? Well, the prequel one about Han Solo. Oh, it's called Solo, isn't it? Yeah. So after that, we went for dinner, and I said to Morgan, I don't understand the timeline. So he drew this. So what you have here is, now I had no idea this all existed. The pink ones are the films. The blue ones are the TV series. I didn't know there were TV series. And the yellow one are the books. The whole thing is one big timeline so that I could see exactly what had happened before. And then he's written events, key things that happened. So that was what he did. So that was 2018 he did that. Now the funny thing about this... But the funny thing, I love this, the funny thing is my Ruri could not stand that Morgan had done this. So he did one for the Marvel movies. I showed this to him. He's like, that's not the finished one, Mum. I'm like, oh, sorry. But yeah, so he
Doesn't
didn't
lead
look.
up to Endgame, right?
Not at that point. I don't think that had been in there. I need to get him to redo it. So, some takeaways for you. Make sure the layout works for everyone. If you've got people who walk into the room and can see what's going on, it's a success. If your cat sitter can come up to the board and write a post-it and put it in the right place, make everyone laugh, it's worked. Your visuals are working. If your kids run off and do their own version, it's working. If the tickets are moving, it's working. Is it obvious what needs to be done? And have you limited the WIP? So I always make that to-do column much smaller than the ones at the sides. Having a very full done column is very satisfactory. And if you have, let me go back, if you have too many WIPs, then you need to reduce them. Oh, sorry. So, funny cat picture, be like Dante, control your WIP, sit on it. It's a good photo, but, and that's it, thank you. But feel free to ask any questions.